Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Mike Lindell at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Breaking news last night, it's now official. A ceasefire and hostage deal has been signed by Israel, Hamas, the U.S., and Qatari officials. Currently, the Israeli government is set to vote on the measure tomorrow on Saturday, which would delay the release of the first 3 hostages until Monday. Also, President-elect Donald Trump reminded all parties that a ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas had better be finalized before he is sworn into office at noon on Monday. We'll see. It's headed in the right direction. That's good. President-elect Donald Trump's Treasury Secretary, nominee Scott Bessent, faced off with Senator Bernie Sanders during his confirmation hearing, and it was clearly a clash of 2 very different visions for America. And also yesterday, Attorney General nominee Pam Bondi again made Democrat senators who continued with their attempts at gotcha moments. She made them look kind of silly. You would have thought after the first day they would have realized that they're not going to get a gotcha moment over on Pam Bondi. We have some of the highlights for you. And what will probably be his last major decision as president, Joe Biden yesterday decided that no decision was the best decision, and he will not enforce the ban on TikTok, leaving the decision to the Trump administration as one of their first actions on Monday.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
A ceasefire and hostage deal was officially signed yesterday by Israel, Hamas, U.S., and Qatari. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been informed of the agreement, has instructed a meeting with his political security cabinet, which would be followed by a government meeting to approve the plan. His office said in a statement translated from Hebrew to English, this is expected to be to take place on Saturday, saying the families of the hostages were informed a short while ago of the agreements by the Directorate for Hostages, Missing Persons, and Returnees in the Prime Minister's office. Additionally, the Prime Minister instructed the coordinator for prisoners and missing persons to coordinate preparations for the reception of the hostages upon their return to Israel. Currently, the Israeli government is set to vote again on Saturday, tomorrow, which would set this up for a return of the hostages on Monday. Government officials cited last-minute issues with Hamas was the result of some of the delays. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu also thanked President Biden and President-elect Donald Trump during a pair of phone calls yesterday. He called to discuss the ceasefire and the hostage deal. Netanyahu's office said that the Israeli leader thanked Trump for his assistance in advancing the release of the hostages and for helping Israel bring an end to the suffering of dozens of hostages and their families. The prime minister made it clear that he's committed to returning all of the hostages however he can and commended the U.S. president-elect for his remarks that the U.S. would work with Israel to ensure that Gaza will never be a haven for terrorism again. The pair decided to meet in Washington, D.C. soon to discuss other important issues. Prime Minister Netanyahu then spoke with U.S. President Joe Biden and thanked him, we're told, as well for his assistance in advancing the hostage deal. President-elect Trump said that a ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas had better be finalized before Monday. During a podcast interview he is on with Dan Bongino, the soon-to-be commander-in-chief said that his involvement in the negotiations was crucial to the deal getting done. He said, we changed the course of it, and we changed it fast, and frankly, it better be done before I take the oath of office. I'm not looking for credit. I want to get these people out. We've got to get them out, he said. Trump also said that we shook hands and we signed certain documents, but it better be done. The Associated Press reported that the president is anxious for everything to be finalized, of course, and for the hostages to be back home. The deal is expected to begin on Sunday. Again, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu said that issues with Hamas had held up his government's approval of the truce, but they're working to get it done. The ceasefire and return of the hostages, of course, is great news for most. It's bittersweet for some. One story is that of an American-Israeli family grappling with the horrors of the ongoing conflict. The parents of Omer Nutra, an American-Israeli hostage killed by Hamas, they're calling the recent ceasefire and hostage deal bittersweet. Omer Nutra's parents, Ronan and Orna Nutra, spoke with Fox News. Their son was captured on October the 7th, 2023, during the Hamas's brutal attack on the Israeli communities in the south of Israel. Since then, Hamas has used his body as a negotiation chip to extract concessions from Israel, his parents say. This is an unspeakable tragedy. It's a stark reminder of just how barbaric Hamas is, and we can't forget that. His mom, Orna, expressed both hope and pain in her interview, saying it's a very tough moment.
American hostage Omer Nutra calling this a deal with the devil, but support the compromise. They hope for the return of their son's body so he can be buried properly. Omer's parents, Ronan and Orna, are joining us now, and welcome to both of you. For so many of us who have been watching and following your story, we can only imagine how you feel in this moment. Please do share with us your thoughts.
It's a tough moment. On the one hand, we're very, we're happy and excited for the families that will hopefully get to see their loved ones after such a long time. You know, it's been over a year since the previous release, and this is long overdue. We've been advocating for this fiercely for such a long time. And of course, for us, it's unfortunate that we received the news a month and a half ago that Omer was killed on October 7th. Obviously, we were devastated, and this is something we are going to have to deal with. But even after receiving that news, Omer is still not home, and he hasn't been since October 7th. So we are looking forward to beginning this deal finally and pushing through all the phases, because Omer is not expected to be brought back in the first phase. And we need to make sure that he is brought back and that he receives a respectful burial.
And at this point, we pray that his mom and dad can get just that. Wow, that's a very sad story, and that's one of many stories. On the one hand, we're happy, we're excited for the families that will hopefully get to see their loved ones alive. On the other, we're trusting President Trump to ensure that this very fragile deal is completed. Our husband, Ronan, added, "We're appalled by Hamas's use of hostages and the deceased as pawns." Now, let's not forget what this family and so many others have endured. Hamas's tactics of using hostages, both living and deceased, for the leverage is inhumane, is brutal. This fragile ceasefire and hostage deal is at a very critical moment, but it's just the beginning. As Ms. Nutra said, it's bittersweet and fragile. The Nutra family is placing their trust in the incoming Trump administration to follow through. And I can't stress enough that we need to be hopeful, but we also need to be realistic. Until it's done, it's not done. After the initial announcement on Wednesday, there seemed to be a pause by the Israelis. Israel's ambassador to the United Nations said that he's confident that the ceasefire and hostage deal would be approved by the Israeli government. Ambassador Danny Danon said that he's optimistic the deal will be finalized despite attempts by Hamas to gain more concessions at the last minute.
Well, Sandra, we are committed to bring back all the hostages. Hopefully in the next week, we're going to start to see a few of the hostages coming back to their homes. I want to remind you, 15 months in captivity. We're talking about children, babies, women that are being under tremendous suffering, torture, starvation, sexual assaults. So we are doing our best to bring them back home. That will be the first stage. And during the first stage, we will be able to negotiate the future. But if you ask me about the vision first we bring them home, all of the hostages, and then we will not allow Hamas to control Gaza, because we know if Hamas will stay there, it will be dangerous for Israel, and there will be no future for the Palestinians in Gaza.
The ambassador confirmed that Israeli representatives as well as intelligence officials are in Doha, Qatar, negotiating the final points of the deal. Again, expected to be voted on tomorrow. And we just pray that that happens. I mean, that would be horrible for this to fall apart after we're this close. But again, you got to remember who we're dealing with. We're dealing with animals who, as this poor family that I introduced you to a minute ago, that they've used the body, the dead body of their son, as a negotiating tool to try to get more concessions out of Israel. They'll do anything. That's why Hamas cannot ever be allowed again to control Gaza. Hamas has to be shut down once and for all, or we could be right back in this situation, or I should say Israel could be right back in this situation next year. There's a lot of talk about making America great again, and it begins with making America healthy again. Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team at PhD Weight Loss are at the forefront to educate and guide you to be your best self. The millions being spent in propping up Big Pharma are astounding, only to create long-term dependency and harmful side effects. Let's take a natural approach that isn't connected to a pharmaceutical company's bottom line. The coaches at PhD Weight Loss will show you how. The entire program is centered around science and nutrition, a proven roadmap that has helped over 8,000 clients lose over 331,000 pounds. You'll learn what to eat and when, how to quiet cravings, and finally get rid of that belly fat. Plus, you'll never take a medication. How many pounds would you like to lose in 2025? Do it the natural way with PhD Weight Loss, here to lead the charge to make America healthy again. Call PhD Weight Loss and schedule your consultation. 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. I love watching these confirmation hearings and the Democrats just taking this opportunity to be on prime time and to have their 7 minutes of glory. There were more fireworks on Capitol Hill yesterday, where President-elect Donald Trump's Treasury Secretary nominee, Scott Bessent, faced off with Bernie Sanders. It was a clash of two very different visions for America, for sure. Senator Sanders, in his usual style, came out swinging, claiming that the U.S. is headed toward an oligarchy. He heard Joe Biden's speech the other night. He fears that we're going to be controlled by the likes of Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg. But Bessent didn't back down, pointing out that these individuals built their wealth themselves, with Musk coming into this country as an immigrant with nothing. And then in a moment that left Sanders kind of scrambling, Bessent reminded him that President Biden recently awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom to billionaires George Soros and David Rubenstein, two people who Sanders conveniently left out of his oligarch narrative. Here's the exchange. You need to hear it for yourself.
We have a corrupt campaign finance system in which a small number of billionaires in both political parties make huge contributions into the presidential and congressional campaigns. When you have a small number of multi-billionaires who have enormous economic, media, and political power, would you agree with President Biden, who last night stated, and I quote, "An oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights, and freedoms." End of quote. That's what President Biden said last night. I agree with him. Do you?
Senator Sanders, I enjoyed our visit.
You talk a little bit closer into the mic.
I enjoyed our visit, and I hope you got my follow-up materials on the discussions, my previous writings on the tariffs and China. And look, the three billionaires who you listed that all made the money themselves. Mr. Musk came to the country as an immigrant.
I understand that, but what I'm asking you is, when you have a handful of people like Musk, who will soon be part of the Trump administration, and others, when you have three people owning more wealth than the bottom half of American society, when these people have enormous influence over the media, when they spend huge amounts of money in both political parties to elect candidates, what Biden said last night is we're moving toward an oligarchy. I'm asking you that question. Do you think, forget how they made their money, do you think that when so few people have so much wealth and so much economic and political power, that is an oligarchic form of society?
Well, I would note that President Biden gave the Presidential Medal of Freedom to two people who I think would qualify for his oligarchs. So
this is not a condemnation of any one individual. I'm just asking you, would so few people have so much wealth and power?
But
do you think that is an oligarchic form of society?
Senator, I think it depends on the ability to move up and down the income.
No, that's not really the answer. I mean, even if you had that mobility, no matter who those individuals might be. All right, but let me ask you another question.
Bernie Sanders just doesn't get it, does he? He's thinking of oligarchs like Russian oligarchs, where they literally steal their money. I think it's totally different when you have people like Elon Musk who built their wealth from nothing. That's different, isn't it? Am I missing something here? Text me, email me, joe@joeyhudson.com. Bernie Sanders wasn't done there, though. He pressed Mr. Bessent on raising the federal minimum wage, pushing for an increase from $7.25 to $17 by 2028. Bessent, he held firm, saying, quote, "I believe the minimum wage is more of a state and regional issue, Senator." And he's right, isn't he? The cost of living in parts of America can be totally different. They're not the same if you're looking, if you're comparing South Carolina, for example, with New York City, or parts of North Carolina, parts of Georgia with California. A one-size-fits-all federal mandate doesn't make a lot of sense, I don't think, does it? Here's the real headline, though. Bessent emphasized the urgent need to renew the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. These tax cuts, of course, championed by President Trump, and he believes it was a major part of his economic plan that got the economy rolling. They've been a lifeline for America's middle and working classes. Bessent warned that letting these cuts expire would create an economic calamity that would hit everyday Americans the hardest. He called it the single most important economic issue of the day. And it is. This is the kind of leadership we need, folks. Bessent is laser focused on keeping our economy strong, putting America first, and standing up to socialist policies and people like Bernie Sanders. Meanwhile, down the hall, Democrat Senator Mazie Hirono did not disappoint again today. The senator from Hawaii faced mockery again on social media over her open questions to Interior Secretary nominee Doug Burgum during his confirmation hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome. As part of my responsibilities to ensure the fitness of nominees before any of the committees on which I sit, I asked the following two initial questions. First is, since you became a legal adult, have you ever made unwanted requests for sexual favors or committed any verbal or physical harassment or assault of a sexual nature?
No, Senator, I have not.
Have you ever faced discipline or entered into a settlement related to this kind of conduct?
I have not.
Conservative commentator Chad Prather posted on X, this lady has issues. Benny Johnson, who also on X, said, no, this is not AI. Ned Runyon, American Majority President, said, what is wrong with the Democrats? They are apparently bat guano crazy sex pervs. Is this all they think about? And it was kind of unusual questioning, wasn't it? That she's asking him if he's ever sexually harassed someone, I guess. I mean, these are types of things that kind of settled in their background checks. I would think that she would have other questions of, what he would actually do as Interior Secretary. Maybe some of her tree-hugging friends. But, hey, that's Mazie Hirono for you. How that lady got elected to the U.S. Senate, I'll never understand. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. Before we move on from the confirmation hearings yesterday, the Democrats were not finished with Attorney General nominee Pam Bondi. Bondi, like on Wednesday, wasn't holding back, especially when it came time for Senator Adam Schiff. Yes, the same Adam Schiff who was censured by Congress for promoting the Russia collusion hoax. It's hard to believe that man sits in the U.S. Senate now, doesn't it? But that's California for you. He tried to corner her with some political gotchas, like he always does. Schiff started by grilling Bondi about whether she'd investigate Trump's political opponents, specifically asking about Liz Cheney and former special counsel Jack Smith. Bondi's response? Direct and no nonsense. Senator, she said, no one asked me to investigate Liz Cheney. That is a hypothetical. Schiff wasn't going to accept it. Here's their round.
Let me ask you a different, simple question. The president also wants to jail Liz Cheney. Sitting here today, are you aware of any factual basis to investigate Liz Cheney? Yes or no?
Senator, that's a hypothetical, and I'm not going to answer that question.
No, it's not hypothetical. I'm asking you, sitting here today, whether you are aware of a factual predicate to investigate Liz Cheney.
Senator, no one has asked me to investigate Liz Cheney. That is a hypothetical.
The president has called for it publicly. You are aware of that, aren't you?
No one has asked me to investigate.
But the president has
We're also worried about Liz Cheney, Senator.
The president has
You know what we should be worried about?
Ms. Bondi, please answer my questions.
The crime rate in California right now is through the roof.
Ms. Bondi,
your robberies are 87% higher than the national average.
My question is this.
That's what I want to be focused on, Senator.
Do you have the power to say no to the president? And what you're suggesting today by your non-answer is you don't have the independence to say no to the president.
Did you hear kind of flip the script on him, calling out California's crime crisis? She told Schiff, your robberies are 87% higher than the national average. That's what I want to focus on, Senator. Good for her. It didn't stop there, though, because Schiff accused Bondi of lacking independence and even asked if she would tell Donald Trump that he lost the 2020 election. They just won't let 2020 go, will they?
So let me ask you a different question. It also requires you, if you're going to be a good attorney general, to be able to tell hard truths to the president. So my questions now are, can you tell hard truths to the president? So let me start with an easy truth that you could speak to the president. Can you tell him that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election? Can you say that? Do you have the independence to say that? Do you have the gravitas, the stature, the intestinal fortitude to say, Donald Trump, you lost the 2020 election? Can you tell us that here today?
Senator, what I can tell you is I will never play politics. You're trying to engage me in a gotcha. I won't do it. I won't play politics with any ongoing investigation,
so let me ask you another,
like you did leaking your colleague Devin Nunes's memo.
If you can't answer the question, let me ask you a different, what should be a simple truth, not a hard one. Was there massive fraud affecting the result of the 2020 election, yes or no?
Senator, I'm glad you asked that question, if you'll let me answer what I saw in Pennsylvania.
No, I asked a simple question about massive fraud.
I can only tell you what I saw in Pennsylvania.
I know you want to answer a different question, but my question is, Can you tell us whether there was massive fraud affecting the results of the 2020 election? Yes or no? Was there or was there not?
I can tell you what I saw when I went
That's
as an advocate to the campaign.
That's not my question. So you can't answer that question. You can't speak that even easy truth to us, let alone to the president.
And again, Bondi fired back, accusing Schiff of playing politics, which he was, and reminded him of his record, saying, you were censored by Congress for comments just like this that are so reckless. Good for her. Good for her. Let's not forget, Adam Schiff's censure in 2023 was for pushing false claims about Trump's 2016 campaign in Russia, a very disgraceful chapter that still looms over his credibility. Again, I don't know how he got elected to the U.S. Senate. Ms. Bondi also sparred with Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, who questioned her on the so-called weaponization of the DOJ. Now, how hypocritical is this of the Democrats bringing up weaponization of the DOJ and questioning Pam Bondi whether or not she will weaponize the DOJ? They've already weaponized it. That's what they've done for these last 4 years. Her response to Senator Whitehouse, that is the whole problem with the weaponization we've seen the last 4 years and what's been happening to Donald Trump, she said. She wasn't backing down. Look, she knows she's not going to get these Democrats' votes anyway. There's no way Adam Shifty Schiff is going to vote for Pam Bondi, nor is Sheldon Whitehouse. So I'm glad that she stood up to him. The hearing wasn't just about Bondi defending herself. It was about making it clear that she's ready to restore integrity to the Department of Justice. She's a former Florida Attorney General. She's seen the damage caused when politics infects prosecution. Her approach is focus on the real issues like crime, public safety, and the rule of law, and not on political vendettas. And I think she'll do that. Bondi showed that she's tough, that she's smart. She's ready to clean up the mess that's left behind by Biden's DOJ that's been weaponized for far too long. But yet the Democrats are holier than thou, trying to make the American people think that they're trying to save the Department of Justice. And the fact that Adam Schiff is leading the charge against her, it kind of tells you all you need to know, isn't it? Moving on, the latest in the battle over TikTok, this wildly popular app. I still don't quite get TikTok. I like to watch informative YouTube videos. And I sometimes, and most recently, have watched some of the TikTok videos, but it's more of a younger demo, of course, than me. I'm not a young man anymore. Yesterday was my birthday. We're going to talk about that in a minute. I'm a year older. But look, there's 170 million users of TikTok. And, of course, they're facing a potential nationwide ban this weekend in a move that has surprised some probably. Joe Biden has decided to literally punt the issue, leaving enforcement of the law to the incoming Trump 2.0. Here's what we know. The law passed by Congress and signed by Biden last year forces TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, to either sell the app or face a complete U.S. ban by January 19th. That's Sunday. Instead of following through, Joe Biden has decided to pass the buck to President-elect Donald Trump, which is fine. I'm good with that. Let Donald Trump decide this. TikTok, meanwhile, says that they may still shut down operations on Sunday if there's no action taken. Here's where things get a little interesting. Trump's incoming National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz, says that the new administration is ready to work on a plan to keep TikTok running. Waltz hinted at possible executive action to delay the ban for maybe 90 days or so until they can kind of get in there and work on the deal, provided he feels like there is a deal to be made. And this isn't about saving dance videos or viral trends. Supporters of the ban argue that TikTok, under ByteDance's ownership, gives the Chinese Communist Party access to the personal data of millions of Americans. They say that this poses a serious national security threat. Does it? I don't know. I don't know enough about how this software works. It makes me suspicious. I know that Facebook knows a whole lot about me. I know that Google knows a lot about me. At least those are American companies. That's why I've been a little leery of TikTok. But there's some good stuff on there, what I've seen. Even the Supreme Court is weighing in. TikTok has challenged the law, of course, claiming that it violates their First Amendment rights. But during oral arguments, all 9 justices seemed skeptical, signaling that the court could probably greenlight the ban as early as maybe today in an emergency decision. And adding to the drama, now get this, this is the old politics makes strange bedfellows. TikTok CEO Xu Zhi has been lobbying to save the app. Of course, he visited Trump's Mar-a-Lago last month, talking to Trump. Chu is expected to attend Monday's inauguration, joining a who's who of tech giants like Elon Musk, like Mark Zuckerberg, like Tim Cook, like Jeff Bezos. This guy's going to be there. His company may be banned on Sunday, but he's planning to be at Trump's inauguration on Monday. Do you find that as odd as I do? Here's what we know. President Joe Biden did have an opportunity to follow through on this law, a law that he signed, and address what some believe is a critical national security issue. But for once in these final days, and he's made a lot of last-minute decisions, a lot of last-minute pardons, commutations. He's given away billions and billions of more student loan debt. Joe Biden has done a lot in these last few weeks to hurt America. He's given away billions more of our money to Ukraine. I mean, there's probably things that we don't even know he's done that would scare all of us. He's kicking the can down the road, leaving President-elect Trump the option to make the decision, and I think that's a good thing. What do you think? Are we playing with fire if we allow TikTok to continue? Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. On the text line, and thank you for all of your texts and emails and your comments on Facebook yesterday. It was my birthday. I didn't really mention it yesterday, but it was a fun day and really just shows me of what great friends I have out there, and I thank you very much. Texter says, Faye says, hope you had a good birthday, Joey. A said, Joey, I hope you have a wonderful birthday. God bless you. Ann, happy birthday. Enjoy your 5 a.m. show every day. Thank you, Ann. Appreciate you listening. Joanne says, happy birthday. Wishing you many more trips around the sun. Elaine says, happy birthday, Joey, from Sacramento, California. Look at that. Looking forward to Monday, 1/20/25 with you. Oh, boy, I'm looking forward to Monday, too, Elaine. And thank you for listening and commenting from Sacramento, California. Kim says, did you share with Jesse and Simon? I hope you have the best year ever, my friend. Kim, of course, is talking about it. I posted a photo of the cup of coffee and the buntini that Peg had for me yesterday morning to start my birthday off when I kind of wrapped things up, and she had it all ready for me. And Kim knows, she's seen me post some things in the past where Jesse and Simon, they get buntinis on birthdays too. And it's so funny because they know all about it. They knew when Peg got the buntini out and had the little candle on it, they got so excited because they knew they were going to get one as well. That's how we do birthdays. And you know I love my Jesse and Simon. So it was a fun day, and thank you all for your many messages. I tried to respond to as many as I could, and I'll still do it. You may be a day or two. But it just really shows me what a lucky man I am to have you guys to share life with. And I appreciate that very much. We're just days away from President Trump taking office, and that's what we're all focusing on. I leave tomorrow to head up to Washington. I'm so excited to be there to see this firsthand. Of course, Sunday night, we have the South Carolina Ball. Looking forward to that, seeing a lot of my friends from South Carolina, many who live in Washington, who work in Washington, but are from South Carolina. When we leave there, we're going to head over to Charlie Kirk's inaugural ball as well. That's going to be a good one. he announced some of the entertainment. Of course, the Village People are going to be one of the bands there. That's going to be fun. A interesting poll, though, that of all people CNN released, shows that 56% of Americans say that they expect Trump to do, quote, a good job as president. And this kind of tracks with some of the most recent polls, too. I think it was Pew Research who released one not long ago, too, right around Christmas, who talked about, they used words, and they wanted you to choose a word that you thought of going into 2025 and with the new Trump administration, and hope was that word. And I think that's what we are feeling, isn't it? Is we feel like that at least we have a chance now with Donald Trump. The 56% of Americans expecting President Trump to do a good job, that's a pretty big jump from the 48% when he was elected in 2016 the first time. And I think that is indicative of a lot of people just didn't know what to expect with Donald Trump in 2016. You and I did. But a lot of other Americans weren't quite sure. They saw him as this TV personality and this billionaire developer. They didn't know if he could do a good job as president or not. But he showed them. And that's why it went from 48% to 56% a few years later. It's clear that the country is ready to see results from Donald Trump's America First agenda again. That's not all, though. The poll also shows that 55% approval for how Trump has handled his second transition into office. That, too, was an improvement over 2016, when 40% approved of how he handled the transition 8 years ago. His favorability rating is now at 46%, the highest it's been since his victory over Hillary Clinton. I mean, people in America are just embracing Donald Trump. Now you may think 46%, that's low. No, that's a good favorability. Unfortunately, our country is so divided right now. It's very. I don't know the last president who did have over a 50% overall approval rating. It's been a while. I'm sure Ronald Reagan did. Here's the key takeaway, though, of this CNN poll. Americans are optimistic about the future. A majority, 56%, believe that the economy will be very or somewhat good after Trump's first year back in the White House. Even better, 52% think the country's better off overall after Trump's second term. Now, let's talk about Trump's campaign promises, because he made a lot. According to the poll, the American people believe he's going to deliver on most of them. 80% think that he will impose tariffs on goods from Mexico, Canada, China. That was a key plank in his strategy to revitalize American manufacturing and to negotiate with some of these foreign countries. 74% believe he'll follow through on his pledge to detain and deport migrants who entered the country illegally. 74%. I don't know that 74% of Americans agreed or believed anything Joe Biden was going to do these past 4 years. Do you? The question is, do the illegals who are here, do they believe him? Are they getting a little nervous, a little antsy? And maybe they'll self-deport. I think you're going to see a lot of them head back home themselves. If you make it very clear that those who break the law, in addition to breaking the law to coming into our country, are going to go back, not going to pass go, not going to collect $200 or whatever it is, and they're not going to have a get-out-of-jail-free card either. They may just go back on their own. And I think that may be part of how Trump thinks this is going to all play out. 56% think that he'll shut down the southern border. The numbers still show confidence that he will continue his tough stance on immigration and that we'll all be better off because of it. There's even optimism about his ability to tackle some of the big challenges like reducing the size and cost of the federal government. 54% think he can. 49% believe that he is likely to end the war in Ukraine. Bottom line, the American people, we're ready for action. We're ready to place our trust in Donald Trump with the understanding that we know that it's going to be tough. on some of these issues. We know that the economy, for example, it may take a little time. Inflation is not going to just plunge next week because Donald Trump says the oath of office on Monday. But I think just with Americans believing that it can, with Americans actually thinking that we can improve the economy, that prices will come back down, that inflation will go away. If you think it, what's the old think and grow rich? If you think it, and if we all think it, it can happen. And that's what the American people are wanting. We're placing our trust in Donald Trump to deliver on his promises and to steer the country toward a brighter future. Because we're tired of where we are now. We're ready for a change. By the way, did you realize that Joe Biden is going to spend his last full day as president in my home state of South Carolina? I don't know why. Speculation is that he's coming to South Carolina for his last day because South Carolina put him in the White House, and it did. He had lost primaries, came to South Carolina, and James Clyburn put him over the top. I don't know, but he will be here on Sunday, the 19th. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.